Why can't we talk more openly and publicly about Stux?
2 answers before we even get started. I don't know, and if I did, we wouldn't talk about it anyway.
Something as simple and innocuous as this becomes a challenge for all of us to maintain accountability and control of our critical infrastructure systems. This actually contains the Stuxnet virus. It's impacting industrial control. Is this something that's coming after the homeland? If you get up in the morning and turn off your alarm and make coffee,
power plants, power grids,
and pump gas,
transportation, telecommunication,
and use the ATM, you've touched industrial control systems. It's what powers our lives.
Most of these systems are relatively easy for a sophisticated hacker to get into.
The security experts who are studying Stuxnet really think it required the resources of a nation state.
It spread to any Windows machine in the entire world. We didn't know if it was set to turn off all electricity plants around the world, or it would start shutting things down or launching some attack.
It was blowing up centrifuges, and it was leaving no trace.
There have been assassinations of nuclear scientists. Some human assets had to be involved. Spies.
It went beyond our worst fears, our worst nightmares.
This is not your ordinary criminal doing this. This is someone bigger.
The monster turned against its creators, and now everyone is in this game.
This has the whiff of August 1945. Somebody just used a new weapon, and this weapon will not be put back into the box.
You've been focusing on Stuxnet, but that was just a small part of a much larger mission.
There are some who argue that the next war will not be a nuclear war, or it may perhaps not even bioterrorism. It will be a cyber war.
That's a third area, and I personally think there's only the three, but that's not much comfort. Yes, a modern society depends on electricity and communications and information flow, and if you can, for a substantial period of time, disrupt that, then a lot of systems, including how a hospital organizes itself, or how food gets moved around,
financial institutions,
or an airline decides what to do, or bank accounts, what was that bank account supposed to be? And so a lot of experts in government and companies now are spending time thinking about, okay, how do you minimize that? How do you have duplicates, backup? A lot of sophistication going into that.
We're following new developments on that massive hack attack. One top cybersecurity firm issuing a major warning tonight. Let's get to Eamon Javers with all the details. Eamon.
Yeah, Melissa, here's something to keep an eye on as we head into the weekend here. A warning now from Mandiant, their vice president, John Hultquist, pointing out the possibility now of potential ransomware attacks. Here's his statement. He says, "We are anticipating more exploitation of the Exchange vulnerabilities by ransomware actors in the near term. Though many of the still unpatched organizations may have been exploited by cyber espionage actors, criminal ransomware operations may pose a greater risk as they disrupt organizations and even extort victims by releasing stolen emails." So this is all the follow-up to that Microsoft Exchange hack that we saw reported on so extensively last week. Over at the White House today, we saw the National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, admitting that the administration is still struggling to get its arms around the scale and scope of this entire hack. Here's what he said.
The precise number of systems that have been exposed by this vulnerability and have been exploited either by nation-state threat actors or ransomware hackers or others, that is something that we are urgently working with the private sector to determine. It is certainly the case that malign actors are still in some of these Microsoft Exchange systems, which is why we have pushed so hard to get those systems patched.
So Sullivan there saying the bad guys are still in a lot of these servers. We think the cybersecurity industry broadly thinks that those bad guys are the Chinese. The White House not pointing the finger specifically to the Chinese government just yet, saying attribution is still to come. But the way this ransomware works, Melissa, is that the companies that are being hit hard by it may already know that they've been hit hard by it, and someone is extorting them already, demanding payment, or else threatening to leak the emails. You know, we could see that start to happen in the coming days if those companies decide, you know what, we're just not going to pay these extortionists.
Eamon, quick question. I read that that about a third of the vulnerable Microsoft Exchange customers have not yet patched their systems yet. This according to BitSights. And I'm wondering at this point with this warning, if they went ahead and patched their systems, if that could protect them from this next layer.
Well, it's something that you have to do, and the White House is urging everybody to patch their systems, to pay attention to what the Microsoft warnings were on this. They put out exactly what you need to do. But, you know, in many ways, patching your systems now is a little bit like locking your front door with the burglar still in the house, right? It's going to prevent the other burglars from getting in, but it doesn't do anything about the guy hiding in your closet.
A massive cybersecurity breach against the U.S. companies, many of them, as well as federal agencies. And there's still so much we don't know, including the full scope of the breach or the extent of the damage it has caused. But we know this much. This attack constitutes a grave risk to our national security. It was carefully planned and carefully orchestrated. It was carried out by using sophisticated cyber tools. The attackers succeeded in catching the federal government off guard and unprepared. Foreign actors have been working this breach since late last year, at least last year, setting the landscape to compromise our systems, scraping up sensitive information from our world-class tech sector and from private businesses and from United States government agencies. The truth is this: the Trump administration failed to prioritize cybersecurity. It did that from eliminating or downgrading cyber coordinators in both the White House and at the State Department, to firing the director of Cyberspace and Infrastructure Security Agency, to President Trump's irrational downplaying of the seriousness of this attack. Enough's enough. In an age when so much of our lives are conducted online, cyber attacks must be treated as a serious threat by our leadership at the highest levels. We can't let this go unanswered. That means making clear and publicly who is responsible for the attack and taking meaningful steps to hold them in account. Initial indications, including from Secretary Pompeo, Secretary of State, and Attorney General William Barr, suggest that Russia is responsible for this breach.
On Monday, the FBI reported a criminal group based in Russia called DarkSide was responsible for the cyber attack that led to the shutdown of America's largest fuel pipeline, which stretches over 5,500 miles from Texas to New Jersey. The interruption led to panic buying and empty pumps before the Colonial Network came back online after the company paid a ransom of nearly $5 million. The attack raised new questions about the urgency of cybersecurity as bad actors target American business and infrastructure. NBC technology correspondent Jake Ward has more in our Sunday Focus.
It set off panic from the southeast all the way to the mid-Atlantic. The May 7th cyber attack not only threatened millions of Americans' fuel supply for cars, furnaces, and airplanes, the effects have been rippling outward ever since.
Waiting here for 45 minutes just to get gas.
Gas prices soared above $3 per gallon, the highest level since October 2014. The attack by Russian hacker group DarkSide shutting down the nation's largest gas pipeline. The latest example of just how vulnerable these targets are. Hospitals, small city governments, even major manufacturers across the country have been crippled by these kinds of attacks. The January SolarWinds hack of roughly 100 companies and a dozen government agencies did widespread damage.
The energy sector, which, powers everything from emergency services to mass transit, is under increasing attack. In fact, IBM says that it's now the third most attacked sector after manufacturing and finance, up from 9th place just a few years ago.
Right now at 5:30, a consumer alert. The White House says a cyber attack on one of the largest meat producers in the world world was likely from a criminal organization in Russia. While the FBI is investigating the attack, this comes as meat prices are already at a record high due to a lack of supply.
News4Jack's consumer investigator Lauren Verno joining us now. So Lauren, has the company said whether this attack will affect production? As a result, that could hit our wallets as well.
Yeah, that is a major question right now. And JBS USA said it could have an impact and that fixing the problem, it's going to take time. So I spoke with a cattle expert from the University of Florida, and he says even before this hack, a lack of supply and an increase in demand during the pandemic has already caused beef prices to go up. What does this mean for me who goes to the grocery store? How much more am I paying now than compared to a year ago?
Compared to a year ago, beef 5% higher across the board. Ground beef is in that 5 to 7% range. Some steaks right now are 5 to up to 15% higher.
Chris Pravat of the University of Florida says if the cyber attack on JBS disturbs production, it is very possible those prices could be impacted even more. Here's what we know right now. JBS USA says the company was attacked on Sunday. It was a ransomware attack from a group of hackers likely based in Russia. It targeted the company's IT system in North America and Australia. JBS USA issued this statement. The company is not aware of any evidence at this time that any customer, supplier, or employee data has been compromised or misused as a result of the situation. Resolution of the incident will take time, which may delay certain transactions with customers and suppliers. And while we won't know the impact on meat supplies right away from the attack on JBS, regardless, Pravat says don't expect these prices to go down anytime soon, especially before the 4th of July. Tark?
So, Lauren, this is the second cyber attack in less than a month, the first on the Colonial Pipeline, which forced a 6-day shutdown of one of the largest pipelines. Should we be concerned about another one like this?
The short answer, yes. So you may remember with the Colonial Pipeline attack, the company ended up paying the ransom.
We all know, but still pay insufficient attention to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack, which would bring to a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, hospital services, our society as a whole. The COVID-19 crisis would be seen in this respect as a small disturbance in comparison to a major cyber attack. To use the COVID-19 crisis as a timely opportunity to reflect on the lessons the cybersecurity community can draw and improve our preparedness for a potential cyber pandemic.
The COVID-19 pandemic has shaken our economies and societies to the core and shown us how vulnerable we are to biological threats. In the digital world, similar risks are being overlooked right now. A cyber attack with COVID-like characteristics would spread faster and further than any biological virus. Its reproductive rate would be around 10 times greater than what we've experienced with the coronavirus. To give you an idea, one of the fastest worms in history, the 2003 Slammer sapphire worm, doubled in size approximately every 8.5 seconds, infecting over 75,000 devices in 10 minutes and almost 11 million devices in 24 hours. Fortunately, at least until now, cyber attacks have not impacted our health the way pandemics have, but the economic damages, and therefore the impact they have had on our daily lives, have been equal and sometimes even greater. You see, the only way to stop the exponential propagation of a COVID-like cyber threat is to fully disconnect the millions of vulnerable devices from one another and from the internet. All of this in a matter of days. A single day without the internet would cost our economies more than $50 billion US, and that's before considering the economic and societal damages should these devices be linked to essential services such as transport or healthcare. As the digital realm increasingly merges with our physical world, the ripple effects of cyber attacks on our safety just keep on expanding at a faster pace than what we're preparing for. COVID-19 was known as an anticipated risk. So is the digital equivalent. Let's be better prepared for that one. The time is now.
Across the internet today, blackout, including Amazon, Home Depot, and Lowe's, Delta and Southwest online check-ins, FedEx, American Express, Chase, and Schwab, even some 911 service affected. Twitter lit up with complaints. Just at the store, unable to process credit card. British Airways, please fix this issue. And it's not just Delta, a whole lot of the internet is down. The problem originated with internet service provider Akamai, which said it was having trouble with its domain name service, or DNS, a sort of internet phone book that directs all web traffic to the proper addresses. An hour after it started, the company tweeted it had implemented a fix. Akamai says a software update, not a hack, caused the problem. The third major internet outage in 2 months, and the second involving Akamai, underscoring the internet's vulnerability.
We really do need to think long and hard about our ongoing redundancy and reliability, because we do have a lot of the internet centralized under just a handful of several major corporations.
Akamai handles up to a third of the world's internet traffic, critical to internet connectivity.
When the lights of the city stop burning.
Blackout. Fun.
Yeah, hysterical. When the lines of communication break down.
I tried the car radio and all I got was static. No.
The laws that hold us together.
Don't you guys have any idea what's going on?
Fall apart.
These people are crazy. People are freaks, man. I heard all this stuff about looting and shootings last night.
Oh my God.
It's bad out there.
Some of us have kids, you know.
Where?
They don't know any more about when the power is going on than we do.
You'll do what you were created for.
And all contact was lost with most of the world. Everything outside of this circle is in complete darkness as of now.
We'll make anyone still alive in the quarantine zone attack us.
Electromagnetic pulse.
A burst of radiation that knocks out every electrical system in the country.
Here is everything we need to survive.
Survive what?
The looming kablooey.
An EMP?
What is the United States?
Okay, there's no water either. There's nothing. This is all we have. We have each other.
What's going on? What's wrong?
Listen to me very, very carefully.
Look at that.
It's all going to turn off.
What?
It's going to turn off, and it will never, ever turn back on. Miles.